Okie dokie, folks, and welcome to Monday Night Shaw right here on Love Wrestling. I am the Canadian Goose, aka Wild Kyle Shaw, and joining me on the podcast today, out of Saskatchewan, is Chris Summers. Chris, how are you, brother?
Really good, boss. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm impressed with this setup you have going on
Oh,
here.
thank you. Thank you.
What do you use all that stuff for?
Oh, well, actually, when the pandemic first hit, I've always been really into computers. So when pandemic first hit, I finally got the opportunity to build my own computer. So I finally built my computer myself, and so with that, I wanted to do live streaming. But I spent hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars on this equipment, and I finally have a reason to use most of it. So
do you have like a Twitch stream that you
I
do?
do actually. It's twitch.tv/subject Skippy, Skippy. Yeah.
Okay, and what kind of stuff do you do on there?
Oh, I just, playing video games. I'm really bad at them though, so I don't really play the games. I just kind of make fun of what's happening.
Oh,
Because,
okay.
yeah, I don't know if it's age, but I'm not as good as I used to be.
How old are you?
I'm actually only 23 years old. So, I mean, yeah, I'm just slow at it. My reflexes suck, man.
Oh, that's okay. I mean, I am 38 years old, and modern day video games can be a rough go for me sometimes.
Yeah.
If it's anything like complicated or requires like a lot of like I don't know, attention or whatever, I just like it seems over my head because like when I first started playing video games, the object was, walk to your right and don't fall in the pit.
Literally.
Do you use any of the equipment for any like wrestling projects or anything?
Yeah, so whenever I get like promo pictures done or whatever, usually I have a few friends that are photographers, and so I'll just basically be like, hey, you want to do something? I'll bring my lights and everything like that. Other than that, really, no. I've never been asked to like bring my lights or anything. So,
I mean, that's fair. Let's get into wrestling because that's kind of what we're here to talk about on Love Wrestling Monday Night Shaw. Where did your love for wrestling begin?
Yeah, so pretty much just like every other answer you're gonna get from any wrestler. As young as I could remember, it was, always going over to my cousin's place or my aunt's place, and you'd see the Raw like just like near the end of the Attitude Era, because I was born in '99, so like it was not as good as it was. But yeah, you remember all of that stuff. When they switched over to the new set and the new theme, like I still remember all of that. I remember
the
seeing
big fist coming out.
Yeah. So I remember, weirdly enough, when I was watching as a kid, I was never interested in like the main event guys, like Triple H. I didn't really find entertaining. I was like, oh, Tajiri is really cool. Like Hurricane's really cool. Like the people that would look good as action figures, those are the guys that I was following.
I really like Tajiri. I think Tajiri's fantastic. He's phenomenal. Hurricane's really good too.
Oh my God. They're just both so phenomenal.
I remember when I first saw Tajiri on WWE, and I was like, "Oh wow, look at the things this guy can do! Like he does the handspring into the big elbow, like he's awesome." At what point did you decide that you wanted to become a wrestler?
So actually, again, like when I was like 5 and 6,
That's
there
very
was
young.
always it actually, like, I don't know why I was a conscious 5-year-old, but like I remember memories of me telling my family that I was going to be a wrestler, and I'm a very fussy eater, and I remember they used to try to get me to eat stuff I didn't like by saying this is what the wrestlers do.
Oh, okay.
And so that's like I've always just wanted to be a wrestler, and it's just been the number one thing. So when I finally made the jump, it was really, really nice. I finally felt like I was doing something that I liked, because everything else just never had the same appeal to me.
Yeah. Is there like a story behind how you found your training school and stuff?
Actually, yeah. So I was laying in bed one day, and my sister, who isn't a wrestling fan as well, I think I like just got my first job, and I was working, and yeah, just exhausted. So I was laying in my bed, and she comes into the room and she's like, "Hey, look, this Facebook post is like an ad for like, do you want to be a pro wrestler?" And so I was like, "Oh, like sure, like, we could do that. I could clear like a day and miss whatever I'm doing to go into this warehouse for 4 hours." Like, and yeah, that's exactly what I did. I went to this arena for 4 hours, and it was like a tryout.
Oh, okay. And then did you continue training from then, or were you
Uh,
like were you immediately like put in the ring? I certainly hope not.
so yeah, that would have been too great. Yeah, so when I did the mini camp, it was actually at the old like HIW's show Battle Arts, their big show that they would have every year. So I went before doors opened and did this little training session, and yeah, it was crazy. They had us running like so much sprints. They had us doing all of the rolls, bunch of cardio. It was the
Yeah.
biggest mistake I'd ever made. And so after that, we actually went to the show afterwards. And after you leave the camp, and then you're going to shower and get ready for the show, that entire time I was like, nah, I don't, you know what, this ain't for me. This I'm really sore. This ain't for me. And then when I was at the show, I was told that I had potential. So even if I'm having a bit of doubt, it gets easier and I should go. And that's when I officially started training.
Solid.
Yeah.
How long after you started training was it before you had your first match? And you're based out of Saskatchewan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you
So
was it in Regina?
actually I my very first match, like very first any type of spotlight, anything, was in Saskatoon, and I
Okay.
wrestled for HIW Wildside. I wrestled a tag team match with another trainee, and we faced El Asesino and Dice Steel, and I believe the match might be the shortest match in HIW history. I'm pretty sure.
Like how long did it go?
um, yeah. So the bell rang. We both got. I got super kicked. My tag partner got the brogue kick, and that was it. The match was over.
Oh, okay.
I couldn't take anymore.
And what was that like for shoot or was that like
No. That's
like
it was all planned. It was all planned.
oh okay.
Yeah, it was just something to like fill time, I guess.
Right on. And
Yeah,
so you must have continued to wrestle for HIW then,
yeah,
eh?
yeah. So the during all of the times I like wrestled on shows when they first started like putting me on shows, they I didn't even know. Like I would just show up to the venue and they would be like, "Hey, you're wrestling tonight. Go get your gear, because your number one rule, always travel with your gear."
Yeah.
So every time that I wrestled like that like 2 second match, and then my first ever match was in King's Challenge. I had no idea until like maybe an hour before doors open that like, hey, you're wrestling tonight in a tag match. And so yeah, that was Regina was my first like official match. And yeah, it was really good. I was in a tag match with Mick Sugar. I tagged with him, and we faced Slammer and Alexander Prime.
Oh, solid.
Yeah,
Solid. I've had a few matches with Slammer.
yeah.
He's really good. Um, I haven't been able to wrestle Mick Sugar, but I think that sounds really appealing because
Oh, he's
I do like the comedy stuff.
Oh, he's great. He is a genius.
Yeah, we met at the at a show recently in Saskatchewan,
Yep.
where you wrestled Jack Pride, and if I'm
Yes.
not mistaken, I wrestled Dusty Adonis.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, and we had like a comedy match too, and
Yeah.
it was, yeah, that I remember that show well because it was a lot of fun.
Oh, that crowd was red hot for everything. And I remember, sitting in the back, and my match was right after your match. And yeah, the crowd was just hot as hell. And it was echoing in the back, like behind that door. That's a heavy door. And so it was just going crazy. And I remember like telling everyone, like, how am I supposed to follow this with like, I'm trying to wrestle here. Like I'm gonna go and do wrestling moves, and I gotta do better than this comedy match that's going on. I love comedy matches, but
Yeah.
like they're just impossible to follow because the crowd gets so hot for them.
I mean, like, I had a ton of fun for sure. I mean, I don't do a lot of comedy matches, which is probably surprising to people that don't like actually know me, but um, yeah, on the occasion when I'm out there with the right guy, like, definitely enjoy it. And Dusty Adonis had some brilliant ideas, like you say. So like, yeah, me and him had a very very tremendous amount of fun.
Oh
How
yeah.
how was your match with Jack Pride?
It was good. It was good. That match ahead of time, because I got the call to go to that show like an hour before I left the house, and it was that day too. So I drove like 3 hours there. And yeah, I my cardio was not in a place that it should have been. Like I'm I wasn't focused on wrestling. I was just hanging out. So I show up, and yeah, the cardio was the only thing for me that I didn't approve of, but it was actually a lot better than it used to be, because I used to have like a vaping gimmick,
Oh, okay.
and now that I've kicked the habit of nicotine, it's like I can't imagine that I used to be out of breath going upstairs. It's like
I
now
hear
I can
you.
actually breathe.
For sure. And then like wrestling with a guy like Jack Pride, who
Yeah.
is very well put together, and I would doubt struggles with cardio
Oh,
activity. Uh, yeah, I could see why that would be kind of intimidated. Were you or intimidating? Were you intimidated?
um, when I showed up and I found out I was wrestling Jack Pride, I was a bit nervous. I wouldn't say intimidated. It's just I always aim to have the best matches possible.
Of
So
course, nobody wants to go out there and have a ho hum. All
yeah,
right, I guess there's some people that are like, let's have an easy night tonight, but
yeah,
it's let's have an easy night, not a like let's go out there and stake the place up. Like,
yeah. um. So yeah, I even though I was super out of breath the entire match, one thing I was told was a nice little thing is that even though I'm super out of breath, I still can do everything. No worries. I'm
yeah,
still in positions. I'm still doing the moves safely. Um, and so the match, I really enjoyed it. I was happy with it. Jack Pride is really fast, and it worries me how quick he is. I don't like
yeah.
it. I don't like it.
I was training with him the other day, and we were doing some like chain wrestling and stuff, and I felt like he was mauling me.
Yeah.
like, I was like, "Whoa, slow down!" Like,
Yeah.
because I mean, don't get me wrong, it's probably on me because like. I don't do a lot of chain wrestling in
Yeah.
matches, but I do it a lot in training and stuff. But I generally like we had just done the mini camp too, so it was like the mini camp was you're just doing very basic chain
Yeah.
wrestling things because you're doing them with people that have not wrestled before.
Yeah.
And so you're just slowly doing the steps and kind of taking turns. And then I locked up with Jack Pride like a couple days later, and it was like, oh Jesus, like I actually have to like fight this guy because
Yeah.
he's just mauling me. But I honestly have never had an actual match against Jack Pride. I've been in battle royals with him, but that's the extent of our interaction, and I would really like to wrestle him.
Yeah, he's very, very fun to wrestle. He's very creative, and that's super important. He's really, really good, and I'm really glad I got an opportunity to wrestle him before he makes it too big. And then
yeah, did you see him on Monday Night Raw?
I did. I actually, every single time Raw is in Winnipeg or Alberta or wherever they are, I always watch those episodes just because I know that like some people are going to be on there that I know.
Yeah.
And I just think that's really cool.
I mean, I had heard that MRB was going to be there, but I didn't know that Pride was going to be there. In fact, I even talked to Pride at the mini camp, like it was like a couple days before the Raw, and it was like, hey, are you going to Raw? And he was kind of like, no, I'm not really going. And then by the end of the day, it was like, oh yeah, no, I'm going to Raw. And I was like, oh, well, that changed quickly. And he was like, yeah, things move fast sometimes. And yeah. I guess he went from not even going to watch to getting booked on the show. So like, congratulations to him. And then of course, like, it was great to see Stephen Crow on there too, because I mean MRB as well, but MRB has been on WWE like a few times, so it was very cool to see Stephen Crow get his first opportunity. And I know that Zoe was also she was at the show. They didn't end up using her on Raw, but she went to SmackDown and was she was all over SmackDown. I guess she got in a fight with Ronda Rousey and completely kicked her ass.
Oh yeah.
No,
I heard that one.
I think Zoe was one of the security guards involved in the break apart between Ronda Rousey and Liv Morgan. So, but Zoe is fantastic.
Oh yeah, sure. Big fan of Stephen Crow as well. Very big fan.
Yes, another person I would love to have another match with. I've had a tag team match against him in MRB one time in Pinoca. And then I also had my 100th match of my career was against Stephen Crow, and it was in Calgary. And it was like the first time that I had wrestled somebody who had like fewer matches than me. So it was an interesting one because that's like the first one that I got to like basically go out there and call things and and Stephen Crow. He's fantastic. So it was a complete breeze, and even Johnny Devine watched our match for us and gave me some pointers and stuff, and he didn't have to do that. So I thought it was that was a really special night for me. Unfortunately, a video doesn't exist because nobody filmed the match. So
the one time you really want the match is the time that no one's gonna film it.
I'm usually I've learned my lesson from that, and I usually will get somebody to film the matches for me with my phone if there's no like hard cam setup or whatever.
Yeah.
But sometimes that also doesn't really work out very well, because I remember a few weeks ago I asked the lady at the concession stand if she would film our match, and like I get it because like they're a concession stand and they're conducting business. So like she doesn't have time to stop and just film this match and give her full attention. But like there was like shots of like, oh, she clearly just put my phone on the on the counter and somebody's arm is in the way and you hear them ordering French fries or whatever. And then, so I got some, I did get eventually, like I got a couple of little video clips that I was able to share on Instagram and stuff. But that video won't be making any like best of the Canadian Goose DVDs or anything.
Your highlight reel with Creed as the instrumental in the back.
Yeah, there you go. How long have you been wrestling for?
I've been wrestling. Honestly, I have ADHD. I'm not very good at remembering these things, but it's since I was 16 or I had just turned 17. I can't remember which one, but I've been wrestling. Not consecutively. There's been little breaks just due to
Yeah.
stuff. I had a little break recently just because adult stuff, growing
Yeah.
up, and so now that I'm back, it's really nice. But altogether, it's probably been about 5 or 6 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
solid. Has did the COVID pandemic like affect your ability to get matches and stuff?
Yeah. So my last match before I had wrestled Jack Pride was actually with CWE like a year ago or something like that, and it was I had wrestled Danny Duggan and
Oh, solid. I've
Lumberjack
had,
Gary Woods in a tag match.
nice.
Yeah, and
I've wanted to wrestle Lumberjack Larry for a while. I've
he's really fast as well.
again another guy I've only ever been in like battle royals and like Survivor Series matches with and stuff.
He chopped me surprisingly hard. Like I
Uh,
wasn't expecting a chop to be that hard from him.
oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, I
See,
was very surprised.
I would think that he has a good chop just because like he's doing the lumberjack gimmick and like chopping would be like one of your main go-tos.
Well, I had not considered that until just now. So it makes sense. Him and Duggan both lit me up that day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Did you give it back to them?
I tried, but Duggan has a counter for like everything.
Oh,
And I
that's
didn't
fair.
I didn't really I wasn't in the ring for long with Lumberjack.
Oh,
And
okay.
Duggan, yeah, he's got like, yeah, I don't know. It seems like every time I turn around, he's got something for me. So there's like a million moves in his comeback as well. Like, come on,
I
my
I
cardio isn't that good.
I had some matches with Danny Duggan this year. I think I wrestled him like 8 times. And it was a lot of fun because we did a whole tour of Saskatchewan. We did what was it, Yorkton? Uh, what's is it Prince George? No, not
Prince
Prince.
Albert.
Prince Albert. Yeah, we did Prince Albert, Yorkton, Carnduff, and Regina. And
Yeah.
all 4 nights I wrestled Danny, and then he came and did a tour in Alberta, and I wrestled him in Red Deer, Calgary, and Grand Prairie. And yeah, every time it was fun because you learn something new, and Danny's so experienced and
Oh yeah.
whatnot. And then yeah, like and then I like wrestling for the CWE because they give me some very good opportunities. I've also like I got to wrestle with Tyler Knox out of Lethbridge for them, and that was a lot of fun. And I got to wrestle with Sean Martins, lots of really good wrestlers and stuff working for CWE. So,
Oh yeah.
where have you had any chance to get in the ring since the match with Jack Pride? Have you resumed your training and
No,
started back up with anyone?
no opportunities yet. But I am doing another RCW show on the 29th. So
Oh, solid.
I'm actually doing like, I'm slowly but surely the cardio comes back.
Is that one going to be in Radway?
Radway or it's some other small town in Saskatchewan. I
Oh,
can't remember
okay.
what it's called, but yeah, it's on the 29th of October. So um I'm slowly working towards that one. Uh
Nice.
I mean, there's no real opportunity in Saskatchewan anymore. There's really only the one company in Saskatoon now. CWE doesn't come here anymore. I'm sure they have very good reason. But yeah, there's not much opportunity out here now. So pretty much any opportunity RCW gives is the ones that I take.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I know that the BW was doing some Saskatchewan shows, and that the CWE is still doing Saskatchewan shows, but maybe just
Yeah.
not near your local area. I know
Yeah.
they had Shark Boy on recently, and
Man.
I was kind of bummed that I didn't get booked
Yeah.
on that tour because
Me
Shark Boy is
too.
one of my all-time favorites.
Oh, I was trying so hard to convince everybody just to let me wrestle Shark Boy, because him and Curry, man, were my absolute faves in TNA. So when he came out, I was like, please, anybody. But the shows are so booked so far ahead.
Mhm.
So they had all the spots taken, and I was like, damn, this has ruined my weekend.
Well, I mean, it didn't ruin my weekend, but it would have been a highlight
Not a
for
big
me for
enough
sure.
fan. Not a big enough fan of Shark Boy and Curry.
They um like I've been asked in like a lot of interviews and stuff, like podcasts that I've been on, like who's your dream opponent, and I've always been like Shark Boy versus the
Dude,
Canadian Goose. It
it
kind of
works so well.
makes itself, right? Like, or we could team up and like I pitched the idea of where the Great White North or Shark Boy and Lava Goose, you know?
I like that one. I like
Yeah.
that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. I think that would have been a whole lot of fun. So who are some of the other guys that you've had opportunities to wrestle with and stuff?
so I have wrestled not a lot of people, a lot of the like familiar faces. So I've wrestled Slammer and Alexander Prime. I've wrestled Jack Pride, as we know. I have gotten in the ring with Giselle Shaw, and we had a match that was really, really fun. She was actually she gave me my first win.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when I first started, she was the one that put me over. It was dirty as hell, but she still put me over, and I really liked that because that was not the original plan at all.
I mean, that's still pretty solid. Like
Yeah,
she's kind of a big name now.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
she's got a Impact Wrestling thing going on, and
yeah.
she's been coming out. She's coming out here for some shows. I'm pretty sure soon. Hopefully, by the time this airs, I'm allowed to say that. I just
We'll just have to keep
realized,
it. We'll just have to keep it.
yeah, but yeah, no, she's kind of become like a big star, so that's very cool. Is there
Yeah.
anyone else that like
So I've wrestled McSugar. Unfortunately, in our match is a match that I ended up tweaking my knee. So
yeah.
it wasn't as good as it could have been, but it was still a match. I was fortunate enough to right after that match be in another match with Mick Sugar and Michael Allen Richard Clarke when they were doing the Flex Appeal stuff, and that was something that I'm not super happy with, but it happened.
Okay, why what is there a story
It's
there?
just my tag partner was a man that did not have any physical fitness, and I was hurt, so it was just not as smooth as it should have been.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So it was
it was kind of a shit show.
okay. That's
Yeah.
I mean that's fair.
These
Yeah.
things happen. I know
Yeah.
that after the match, I was like, oh, they were upset, and so I'm sure my anxiety ridden brain is like, oh, they hate you because of it, but like it probably wasn't that bad. They probably weren't that upset. But after the show, McSugar did text me and ask me if I was okay and everything, apologized, and so everything
Yeah.
was really good. McSugar is a person I consider a very good friend in the wrestling business.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
I mean, I usually like if somebody is like not in very good shape, like you can kind of like tell
Yeah.
before you actually go to the ring with them. So I imagine that their expectations of your tag partner were probably simmered or whatever, and
Yeah.
then like you obviously had like a knee injury, which is a limitation for sure.
Yeah.
Like I can speak to that. I'm currently dealing with a knee injury and stuff too, so I mean I know how much of a bummer that can be.
It really put a halt on everything because when you first get injured, it's like, well, I won't be able to do this anymore. And for the entire, like, I think I was off for like 6 weeks or so. The entire time I was like, man, I can't come back. Like there's no way I'm gonna fully recover from this. It's always gonna be like this. And then slowly but surely you learn to work around it.
Yeah.
And I think what they say is true, is like, unfortunately, when you get injured, that's when you learn how to structure matches better than you did before. You know, I'm not saying that, you know, I'm an expert on structuring matches, but I can do more with less, just because of some of the limitations I have.
I mean, I think that seems like fair and valid.
Yeah.
For sure. Like there's like I'm you know, despite the fact that I have a knee injury and whatnot, there's only a couple of things that I really don't like to do,
Yeah.
and it's because I'm worried that they could probably like injure me, and it mostly involves jumping and landing on my feet.
Yeah.
uh, um, like I'll land on my back or my face or my belly or whatever, you know, all day long. But if you ask me to land on my feet, I'm gonna get real nervous about that.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
Um, but what kind of knee injury did you end up
So
having?
I had a pretty severe meniscus tear,
Oh,
and
okay.
so um, you'd be surprised how much you can do with a torn meniscus, though, because like
Oh,
the first little bit, I did not think that I was injured at all. I just thought that I had, you know, tweaked it a certain way, and it didn't really like hurt until you let it sit for so long.
oh, that I mean that's fair. I know what a meniscus tear feels like.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I like. I've completely torn my ACL. It's
Oh
like
yeah.
completely gone. And then
Oh
I also have torn meniscus, and it's like I think they said a torn lateral meniscus and a torn medial meniscus and a
yeah.
burst Baker's cyst. It's like I say, as long as I don't jump and land on my feet, I'm okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I haven't had any real issues with it. There was the one match that I had with Kat a few months ago, and it was just like the weirdest little slight little thing that set it off, and I had to be on the shelf for like nearly a month because it just like I could hardly walk.
Yeah.
And all it was she put me in the Shattered Dreams, the one that Gold Dust does, where he spreads your legs on the ropes and then nut shots you.
Yeah.
Well, I just like I had put my legs up on the ropes and was like that's how I was sitting there, and I guess my ankle was behind the rope on one, and when I went to pull my foot out, it just turned my foot in a weird way, and before my foot even hit the ground I was like, oh, that doesn't feel good. And then she pulled me out to hit the finish on me, and thank God it was the finish, because it was
Yeah.
at that point I realized, oh, I can't put any weight on this isn't good.
Yeah, yeah, that's I had a match against Dice Steel at uh some like it was a really new fed but it was called the AWE, and
Oh, okay.
it
That's
ran.
Logan Cross's
Yeah, yeah. So
federation.
I did a show there with Dice Steel and we wrestled. Unfortunately something went wrong with the ring and there it was broken. So like
Oh no,
it
that's not
wouldn't like
good.
absorb any shock, so it was
Oh,
horrible. But yeah, like you said, when you tweak it again, that's when it hurts, because I picked up Dice Steel for a sidewalk slam. Dice is a big boy, like he's not a small guy at all. So, you know, I had that weight and I went to go walk with him and I tweaked my knee and all the power just left my body. I ended up dropping him and, you know, I fell and I just could not put any weight on it for the longest time. And
oh,
it was horrible. Like I,
was he okay?
yeah, he just it took his breath away just because big guy, broken ring. So he laid there for a second. You know, I gave him lots of time to recover as I sat there with my bum knee. So
How did the ring break? Was it
I
during your guys' match or?
no, it was actually before the show. I don't know what they were doing, but when I showed up to the venue, they were like cutting parts off the ring. So I'm not sure what they were doing, but it was broken after they had done that thing. And the
Oh,
ropes weren't tight. It was just not. It was super limiting because we could only do moves out of the corner at that point, pretty much. So it was.
yeah.
It's
I've heard from a couple of wrestlers about another ring that was similar to that, and then I'm actually supposed to be going to wrestle in very soon, and I was talking to Kat about it, and Kat Von Hees, and she said, "Yeah, you just kind of have to be aware that the ring is quite stiff, and the ropes are very loose, and don't try and do anything off the ropes.
Yeah.
Don't try and run the ropes. You can use corner to corner and whatnot." And I was like, "Okay, so you just try to do that, and
Yep.
maybe you know." I mean, I'm not trying to like kill the magic or whatever. And like I say, nobody wants to go out there and have a stinker, but you do want to keep yourself safe and
Yeah.
whatnot. So sometimes you have to work within the limitations of, okay, no bumps tonight.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, pretty much, and that's
yeah.
the way it is. Is whenever I would do HIW Canada, which was their Regina brand, that ring was stiff as hell, and they always took the old padding from the Wild Side ring, and you would use it there, so it had like no padding. And so every single time I did a show there, it was like, okay, I'm not doing anything crazy, no like big bumps or anything like that, because that ring sucked.
Yeah, and I mean it is cumbersome, especially like when the pads are like if the ring is stiff but there's still good pads on it, then like
Yeah,
you could sort of like okay throw in like a couple of bumps here.
yeah.
Maybe you're not doing superplexes off the top rope, but a regular suplex or whatever would be probably fine, depending on how
Oh,
bad it is. But
yeah.
then once you if you take into account like bad ring mats, then that's
Oh,
that's
yeah.
that's an issue. I know like the RCW ring for the longest time they had some pretty gnarly ring mats on it. We
Yeah.
got we got new ones now that are nice. They're really nice
They
and
are
big,
nice.
thick blue ones,
It's like
and
gymnastic padding almost.
yeah, it works really great,
Yeah,
and
it
it's
does.
it's fantastic. But the ones before that were not, and there was complaints about it by some people and whatnot, and I don't blame them. And then they tried to replace it with like these foam ones that were like I don't know if it was white, some sort of soft styrofoam, but it was too soft. Like
Oh, yeah.
the mats were it was weird because like you'd be trying to run the ropes and it felt like you were trying to run in quicksand.
Oh, and that's just that would do nothing but exhaust you at the same time.
Exactly. And then there was even more complaints about that. I was like, oh, let's just use the old crappy ones for
Yeah.
tonight until you're able to get like new ones on this for like hopefully next week or whatever.
Yeah.
And like I say, they have been replaced and whatnot now, so they're using good stuff. And I've been very fortunate that most of the rings I've worked in have been pretty good rings. Like the I haven't really had issues with the rings so much. It's weird though because they're all set up differently, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah. Every single ring that every show I go to, if it's a new company, I instantly just brain dead because I don't know how to put this ring together. So
yeah,
usually, I show up and I help them put up the ring. I have no idea for like 90% of the rings anymore because I was so used to the HIW had the two rings. They had very specific ways on how they had to be put up. That's enough memorizing for me. Just point and tell me where to go with the RCW ring.
some rings take like 20 minutes to put up
Yep.
and others take like an hour and a half to put up, and then like some of them, like I find that the biggest difference is usually like the floorboards,
Yeah.
like not the floorboards but the beams that go across the ring. Like I've seen everything from just two really big like log sized metal beams going across,
Yep.
and that was like the Victoria City Wrestling ring out in BC back in like 2005. And
Okay.
then I've seen the RCW ring, which is steel like beams, and it's just like pieces of like steel, and they're like 2 inches thick by 2 inches or whatever, and like they're hollow, so it's not like you're not like carrying like a massive thing when you're carrying out those beams. The side rails are a pain in the ass, but the
Oh yeah.
the floor beams are fine. And then the Love Wrestling ring is very similar to the RCW ring, where it's all metal beams and stuff.
Okay.
And the CWE ring is kind of like that as well, but there's fewer beams,
Yeah.
and then they
Yeah.
use 2x6s instead of just plank board. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then the ring for Marty Sugar was probably the weirdest one I ever saw out in Big West Wrestling, and that was instead of metal beams going across, they laid 2x6s, and they were in like horizontally. So that the 2-inch part was the part that the other boards were balanced on, and then they were like put in like lengthwise, and in the middle you got two of those right next to each other in the middle. And that ring was a little on the stiff side. I'll be honest.
I can imagine.
Yeah, like don't get me wrong, we still went out and had a good time, and busted our butts. I mean, I took an overhead belly to belly in that ring, and I took a Death Valley driver in it. And then, the next day I woke up and was like, oh, I think the ring might have been a bit stiff, because my back sure was.
There was, in the Regina ring, I did a match against Brett Evans, and I hated every second of it just after this one move, because the ring is so stiff. I hated taking big bumps, and I was relatively new at the time, so you know how it is. You don't really have a say in what gets done and everything like that, unless there's real cause for concern. And so he had the idea to give me like a Uranagi out of the corner, kind of like what Samoa Joe would do.
Okay.
And man, after that move, my organs were rearranged. I'm pretty sure I felt them shift. And that was the worst thing. And the next day, man, like, it just hurts deep in your muscles. And I don't know, it's hard to explain, but there's a certain like pain that I get when I wrestle in super stiff rings.
Yeah, it is weird, but this is I always carry anytime I go to wrestle, I always take with me like some ibuprofen and whatnot. Like I don't mess with like hardcore painkillers or anything, prescription pain drugs, but like I do rock some ibuprofen and Tylenol.
You can't rock the prescription painkillers just because it is such a problem in wrestling. Like, pills and stuff like that are just rampant in the pro wrestling industry. So I use cannabis myself.
I don't know if they are so much anymore. Like, it's like maybe there's one or two guys that are doing that sort of thing, but it's not something that I'm seeing going on.
I just, you see things, you hear things. It's more rampant in US. In US indie wrestling, there's a lot more. All of the guys here are, pretty good. I mean, pot's legal.
Yeah, like you were just saying, is like in Canada, like pot is legal, and you some of the strains are pretty good for numbing your pain and whatnot.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, I try not to get too deep in the weed right now, just because I've been trying to abstain for the sake of my health and whatnot. Yeah. Just because, like, I find that when I smoke weed, I kind of get like, I get the munchies, and that leads to poor dietary decisions, and I also get quite lazy. But I also I have a real hard rule about not wrestling when I'm stoned.
Oh no, never.
I would not wrestle if I was inebriated, never. Drunk or stoned, because I would feel so awful if I ever hurt somebody in that state, and I would just be like, they got hurt because I was fucked up, and
I definitely save it for after the matches when the adrenaline is starting to lower and slowly starting. I could never wrestle while intoxicated. I could never do that. It's just that is so unsafe to do, especially because cannabis has such an effect on the mind that it really can take over and you can forget everything.
That would be an issue too, is okay, you forget things, or you're not in position for things, or it could just be a really so I have a real hard rule about not doing that.
No, that's never something that should happen.
I mean, I've heard stories of people that you wouldn't want to wrestle them if they were in their right mind, like Sandman and stuff, right? Apparently if he wasn't drunk, then he was way more apt to hurt you. But Jesus. For me, it's a personal choice I make,
Sandman, if you're hearing this, please do not come and beat us up.
I'll wrestle Sandman.
Not if he's sober. Uh,
Fair enough. Fair enough. Oh, yeah. Who are some of your favorite wrestlers? Like looking back, like you already mentioned Tajiri and Hurricane, but like
Yep.
you also mentioned that you do like sidewalk slams and stuff. So I don't think that you probably emulate their ring style. Who are some guys that you look
Uh,
to for inspiration to your character and your ring style and whatnot?
so actually, some of like the one wrestler that really got me into pro wrestling as a whole was Bubba Ray Dudley. I remember watching their first TLC match, and I remember the thing that got me hooked on the Dudleys was he took a bulldog off of like the middle of the ladder, and it was the most real looking bulldog I have ever seen. And so I was like, okay, I am going to be Bubba Ray Dudley when I wrestle. And then, slowly you add your own stuff, but I take a lot of inspiration from Bubba Ray Dudley, a lot of the stuff from like the mid card, just getting out of the Attitude Era wrestlers.
I
I
mean,
really liked Lance Storm as well.
oh, solid.
Uh,
Yeah, I mean, I I like Bubba Ray Dudley too. Like,
yeah,
I've actually like, there's been a lot of times where I wanted to use the like full Nelson thing that he does. It's like a
yeah,
full Nelson bomb where they just like he full Nelsons the guy and they go up and then they both land on their ass.
yeah.
And I always thought that if I locked in a full Nelson and then gave like one of these to make my opponent flap their wings a couple of times, like that would be really good.
Oh, yeah, you have to do that. You got to put that in your repertoire. That
Yeah.
is a really good move.
I considered doing it with like a pedigree or an angel's wings too.
Yeah.
Just anything where like I hook the guy's arms and give a couple of these so that they're flapping their wings.
I also really liked Rikishi.
Oh
And
yeah.
Crash Holly, for if you ever want to watch like someone who can sell any move to make it look like it killed him, Crash Holly is like the guy. Watching him take a Rikishi driver is like the most insane thing.
Yeah, Rikishi driver would be kind of like that would be a scary move to take.
Oh yeah.
Because it's very similar to the like the move that Owen Hart took for
Yeah.
or that he gave to Stone Cold that one time. I mean, generally the guys that are doing Rikishi drivers are not small dudes though.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I know Big Jess Youngblood does it, but his thigh is like thicker than your head. So like
you don't even know what happened.
No, probably. It's probably very, very like I mean devastating looking but safe.
Oh, very safe.
Yeah. But like that surprises me that you're into all these like Attitude Era guys. Like I know you said you were born in 99, but you probably didn't start watching wrestling from the day you were born. And like I would imagine that you would have started watching in like, like maybe 2007, that type of time around then.
I remember like 2004 is probably around when I started. I have memories of like stuff from 2004, so
have you gone back and watched like older Attitude Era shows and stuff? Like, have you gone down that rabbit hole where you're just like, I'm just going to watch all the Raws from 1997 or whatever?
Yeah, literally, like, yeah, I've gone through plenty of phases where it's just, okay, I love the Attitude Era. I'm going to only watch the Attitude Era. And then I see some of the stuff and I'm like, man, like, this kind of sucks. Like this is not entertaining.
Some of it does not hold up for sure, and some of it's in really bad taste.
Yeah,
like there's what was this angle with this Leave It to Beaver guy who was like his mom was like his like love interest. It was I was like, this is terrible.
Yeah,
like this is not even. And then there was classic moment when the Kai and Ty chopped off Val Venus's dick or whatever.
Like
And then
that
he
stuff.
had to wrestle what's his name, the guy who got his dick cut off by his girlfriend Bobbit or whatever. Like that's like it's all this weird stuff, but I mean,
Yeah.
I can look back on it fondly because I also like I enjoy bad wrestling just as much as I enjoy good wrestling.
My most recent rabbit hole is just searching up like the most backyard wrestling federations on YouTube and just like getting really invested in these stories they're telling. It's like it's only told by like run-ins. It's like, this is the greatest wrestling I've ever seen.
Have you ever seen what was that match? But there's a match and one of the wrestlers is called Living Dead Girl.
I have seen that.
It's so bad. She looks completely out of her element, like she's got no idea.
I saw a match where they were on a ladder and somebody pushed them over and they landed on their fence, but they like lived in like a duplex, so like they just broke the fence and the neighbor gets mad at them, so in the middle of their match they apologize to the neighbor for breaking the fence.
I mean, I don't like condone backyard wrestling, like I recommend if you want to wrestle, get trained just because it's way safer that way. And it's also like, it's the only way to really get professionally like booked and make money at it or whatever. But just basically for safety purposes, I don't condone backyard wrestling, but I did used to do it when I was a kid. And we would basically just haul like a bed mattress out from our basement and stick it on the front lawn. And we would play music out the window and film these like really trash garbage matches that were awful. Like, a guy does a super kick and he just slaps his leg and it doesn't even the kick lands like where my hand is here instead of there. And we just like angle it towards people so that if anyone sees it looks like and just like I remember there'd be times when we were wrestling and then one of my dogs would freak out. So you just see my wiener dog run out onto the mattress and start barking at the one guy or whatever. Yeah.
Oh, but that was your valet to the ring.
Yeah. Minnie the wiener dog.
That was your Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Yeah.
But I did backyard as well. Like every pro wrestler that I've met so far has stories of backyard wrestling. And I
don't mean to keep cutting you off. I find that the people that are actually wrestlers, especially on the indies, like maybe if you're in WWE and you went there through like college wrestling or you were like a big time football player, like some sort of professional athlete before you transitioned to wrestling, then maybe it's a different story. But all the indie guys are like in it because they love wrestling,
Yeah.
And I find that people that love wrestling obviously, tried it at home despite the warnings not to.
Well, every kid, I feel like every kid when you're growing up, every kid likes wrestling. And then eventually you like grow older and it's like, oh, it's not as real as I thought it was. And then you kind of form an opinion based on that. But everybody, when I was a kid, if I was backyard wrestling, there was like 30 other kids with us doing the exact same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have 30 other kids, but we had like 5 or 6 for sure. we had a full roster. Where one day I booked like my own show, and it was called the Halloween Cup, and it was like I say, we only had like 6 guys, so like some people wrestled twice with like a mask on or whatever, and then but we like I had like my friend did like match graphics for us. We took pictures of everybody and I made like an introduction video and like he sent me a DVD of it. It's totally awful. Like you would not want to watch it. And like I say, the matches have no psychology or structure. The moves being done are being done poorly, and it's really, really not good stuff. But it was so much fun.
Hey, I was like you had 6 guys, I had 30. I was just in the big leagues. hate to tell you, I went to New
Yeah.
York early.
The New York of backyard wrestling was
Yep.
is
Hey.
somewhere in the middle of buttfuck Saskatchewan.
Literally just in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And hey, yep. This is it. This is the peak of my wrestling career.
Well, why don't you tell us a good story from your backyard wrestling days there, and I will be right back. I just have to go nature calls.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so yeah, I'll tell you guys a story. One time when I was backyard wrestling, we had two foldable chairs, and the two chairs were not used as weapons; they were used as table legs. Uh, why we didn't use them as chairs, I don't know. But we would always put a piece of cardboard that was already like kind of folded down the middle, so it did not stay straight across the chairs. It kind of dipped into the ground. And we would always set that up as like, this has got to be the last thing we do because it's the coolest. And then so someone would be on a ladder or something like that, and one of us would go up behind them, get them up in a power bomb position, and we would put them through this cardboard. And yeah, one time I got my childhood best friend in this power bomb, and I just missed the whole cardboard. Like the whole thing just he didn't even come close to going through the cardboard. And that was the first time I'd ever been yelled at by somebody else's mom. It wasn't fun. And basically that's why the Canadian Goose is probably the worst wrestler to ever. Oh, hey, what's going on? Oh, hey. Hey, what's up?
Yeah.
No, not so bad.
I'm looking forward to hearing the story of why the Canadian Goose is the worst wrestler, but
no, that's not a story I remember calling.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you got your first hookup through Mitch. Is that Mitch Clarke?
Mitch Clarke, yes.
Mitch
you
hooked
Danger
up with
Zone Clarke.
RCW?
Yeah. So he was I owe him big time for this one, but yeah, basically Squig needed some guys, and Mitch I believe wasn't going to that show, and so Squig texted Mitch and was like, hey, do you know anybody? And he threw my name out there, so that was really, really nice. Really appreciate that.
Mitch from?
So I wrestled Mitch in like a 2-minute match for CWE in Saskatoon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I remember the whole build up towards that match was basically like it was me and Mitch Clarke on the graphic, and all my Facebook comments were like, you're gonna die. He's gonna beat the shit out of you. You're not gonna last that long. And I was like, okay, so this is what I'm getting myself into. And then when we showed up and I finally met him, like, really cool guy. My cardio again was bad because I had just come off another break, so timing was poor. And so I was like, hey, let's do a 2-minute match and just have him just destroy me. Like, everybody's expecting it. Let's just, not that he couldn't destroy me by himself, like regardless of what I say.
Wouldn't have taken him 2 minutes.
Yeah, like I'm saying this as if like he wouldn't just destroy me regardless. So yeah, it did not last long. And he put my vape in my butt, which, come on.
Oh, okay. I don't think that's how you're supposed to smoke the vape, but
it worked. It worked though. You're not supposed to, but just so you know, for future reference, you can get some smoke.
Fair enough.
There's a new term to blowing smoke.
I had a match with Mitch a little while ago too, and yeah, I was again like yourself. I was really nervous about it.
Yeah,
just like because Mitch is like he was in the UFC, right? So like he could pretty much destroy like most wrestlers in Canada.
Oh yeah.
Easily within 2 minutes, like if he wanted to. I'm not an exception to that, and so I was really like you say, nervous. But Mitch was complete professional.
Oh yeah, Mitch is he has a good understanding of what makes sense and what doesn't, and he doesn't do what doesn't make sense.
No, and to be honest with you, like the match that I had with him, I was pretty satisfied with it. Again, like it was a squash job or whatever.
Yeah.
But like it was like there wasn't a lot to remember. We just
Nope.
went out there and chained around for a while.
Yep.
He caught me with his. I caught him with one move, and it was a headbutt, and I knocked him on his butt, and then he got up and he finished me off with his big move, and that was that. And I mean, like I say,
There
like,
you go. There
yeah,
you go. Paycheck earned.
I will be totally honest with you. I am very stoked to watch Mitch Clarke and Sean Moore wrestle at the.
That is another guy. I was literally just gonna say Sean Moore is another guy he's the sweetest guy. He scares me like no other person that I've ever met. Like he scares me more than Mitch scares me. And
Yeah.
that like and it doesn't make sense because he's such a nice guy, but I feel like he's hiding something. There's something he's really mad about something.
Have you wrestled with Sean Moore?
I have wrestled Sean Moore. I wrestled him and Ace Riviera when they were the HIW tag champs. I wrestled them for the tag titles. And it was really fun. Like Sean Moore is so smooth. Another guy that when you wrestle him, you're kind of like, I have no control here because he out wrestles you no matter what.
Yeah,
He let me get a few things in. You know, back when I first started wrestling, I could nip up and stuff for a big guy, and it was pretty cool that he would let me put that into the match and stuff. He let me do like this thing where nobody knew who I was, so we had a nice spot where I one-upped him in the wrestling. And I just shouted, my name's Chris Summers. And so instantly then the fans knew what my name was. And then we established, I'm a scumbag. And then, yeah, he just, in the match, when you watch it back, as soon as I say I'm Chris Summers, he switches it up. And I had no control over the outcome of what he was doing.
yeah, no, he absolutely is like, his athleticism and his explosiveness and intensity is just off the charts. Like I have not had the fortune to wrestle with him, and it would be an intimidating experience for me. But when I would absolutely welcome, just because I can tell how good he is.
He is so good, so smooth, so funny. Just he's such a cool guy to be friends with, and but again, like he's too nice.
Well, I've seen him backstage at lots of shows and stuff, and he's usually sporting like a Nintendo 64 t-shirt.
yeah,
which pops me. I'm like, oh, okay, so like, yeah, he can probably do like 3,000 squats in like 5 minutes, but he also probably rocks some GoldenEye every once in a while.
I'm just saying, he can do all the squats he wants. However, that's not going to get him a higher score than Tony Hawk. That's where I hold the keys over his head. Is hey, when it comes to Tony Hawk, there's no chance for you, Sean. I'm sorry.
Yeah, if you ever have to face Chris Summers in a Tony Hawk match on a wrestling show, you're in trouble.
You better hope that doesn't happen.
the Tony Hawk Invitational champion.
I'm telling you, you don't want that, Sean. You don't want the smoke when it comes to Tony Hawk.
The thick title, Tony Hawk Invitational Championship.
Thick. I like that one.
Anyway, Chris, we have gone the full hour. I'll just hit you up with one more, just because you are coming back here to Alberta, or you're going to be wrestling for RCW very soon on the 29th. You said. Do you know who you're scheduled to wrestle yet?
I have no idea who I'm supposed to wrestle.
Okay,
yet.
that does not surprise me. I am wrestling for RCW tomorrow night in Calgary, and I have no idea who I am wrestling yet. Hey. But that's whoever it is. We're gonna have. They're
gonna get honked.
Well, actually, in RCW, I'm not wrestling as the Canadian Goose anymore.
What?
I'm wrestling as Wild Kyle Shaw. So one
That's
of
too
my
wild for me.
Yeah, one of my trainers told me that I should take I should take a break from wrestling as the Canadian Goose and try something a little less carny so I can
I'm excited to see
show
what you
up
bring.
my skills and stuff. And yeah, it's been very exciting. It's a new experience. It's intimidating because like I do fall back on some of my habits and stuff like the honking
Well,
and whatnot. But like
there's a
and now
million things you
now
can do
that
with
I've
the honking storyline wise. You could do a million things with it. Alberta wrestling is constantly changing, and from what I've seen, Alberta wrestling changing for the better constantly. There's always good stuff happening out there. I really like what's happening out there.
now I kind of try to goad the people into honking so I can get
yeah,
angry about it.
yeah,
I can be like,
yeah.
no honking, no, right? And then they just start to do it louder. Um, but yeah, no. So with you coming out here to wrestle for RCW, give me your top three guys that you would like to have a match with, that you'd like to lock with in RCW.
Well, I would like. I'm sure you and I, Wild Kyle Shaw, could have a good match. I want to wrestle Jack Pride again. That was a lot of fun. Um, honestly, for Alberta guys, I really want to wrestle Bobby Sharp. I haven't been able to lock him down in a match, but we've done battle royals together and very fun. Very fun.
He's really good. He came to one of the training sessions recently, and I didn't get to chain around with him, but I think we did we did do a little bit of interaction, and then I was in a battle royal with him. It was a Royal Rumble at the Victoria Pavilion recently at the Wild Rose Association show, which was like a big time thing. At least for me, it was, and I definitely loved being in there with Bobby Sharp because, you know, he's kind of like a legendary Canadian wrestler.
Yeah.
Like he's been on the PWI 500, and you know he spent some time training under Scott D'Amore and stuff. So he's
you know, I've
really
met him so much, him and Kat.
Yeah,
just so many times at Saskatchewan shows, and they are just nothing but nice all the time. Like the purest class of wrestlers that I've ever met. Like they go out of their way just to be that extra bit nice to you, and it's really, really refreshing to see like such nice people these days.
Yeah, it's a good thing. Like it's always great when the person is a great wrestler, but it's even like better when they're not only a great wrestler, but they're also like really cool as a human being.
Yeah.
Like and fortunately out here in Alberta wrestling, we've got a lot of those right now. Like there's a lot of people that are not only really good wrestlers, but like really good, solid human beings that are going to help you out in any way they can. I don't know if I'm going to be wrestling on that show on October the 29th for RCW. I'm supposed to be going to Winnipeg to wrestle for Tony Condello at the Winnipeg Comic Con for 3 days. Okay. And that's in that span of days. Squig was asking me today if it had been canceled, because I guess he heard something about it being canceled, but I haven't heard anything about being canceled. Neither is the person that I'm communicating with. KB6 got me the hookup for that, and I think Tony Condello is probably not on social media because he's quite an old time guy.
Yep.
So social media is probably not his bag. So I'm doing all my communicating through KB6, and he told me that it's still a go as far as he knows. So if that's still a go, then I won't be there. But if it is canceled, then I probably will be there. And if you petition Squig for a match with me, you'll probably get it.
Yep.
And we'll have a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. I hope you can make the show, but of course, wrestling at a Winnipeg Comic-Con sounds probably like a lot more fun than being in some small town.
Well, we also spent some time talking about the state of the ring, so earlier, so it might be, but also like, no, I'm happy to wrestle all over the place, but like right now I am like with I've got to go for surgery on this knee. So
Oh,
right now, before I do that, I'm trying to get out there as much as possible. So if
how
I
long
can
is the
get
surgery going to keep you out for?
uh, possibly up to a year.
Oh, geez.
I actually got a call about it today,
Yeah.
and they were like, "Hey, would you like to come in for surgery on November the 4th?" And I was like, I can't do November the 4th because I've already bought a plane ticket to Victoria. I'm going to there, and I'm going to be wrestling for 365 wrestling on
Yeah.
November 18th. And it's my first match in front of my friends and family
Yeah.
because, like, I'm from Victoria, right?
Right.
And so,
Right.
like, all my friends and family live there, and none of them have ever got to see me wrestle. So
Yeah.
I set this up with the promotion out there that I would go out there and wrestle. So I couldn't say yeah, I'll go for surgery on November the 4th and cancel my trip and my big first match in front of all my friends. No, I
No.
got priorities.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Then,
You
yeah,
have plenty of time to heal.
yeah. Well, I
There's
said, please keep me on the list and call me if you have anything
Yep.
after that. But and they said, oh well, there's three other people ahead of you that also turned down that date. And so I yeah, hopefully it won't be too much longer,
Oh
but
yeah.
I'm not in a rush to do it because I am absolutely loving getting out there to
Exactly.
BC and Saskatchewan and Manitoba and stuff. Like it feels really cool that I've so far wrestled in 4 provinces in Canada
Yeah.
and I'd love to wrestle in more. So
Oh yes.
I'm sure you would as well.
Oh, of course. I really I think my next step is Alberta wrestling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you wrestled outside of Saskatchewan at all?
So no, actually, no, I haven't. It's always been in Saskatchewan. The RCW shots are in Saskatchewan, just closer to Alberta. I've wrestled like right on the border to Alberta, but that's
Lloyd Minister or whatever.
yeah, yeah, I think it was Lloyd. But yeah, I've wrestled really close, and then but unfortunately, I haven't been able. I've gone to shows, like I've traveled as like a +1 with like Michael Allen, Richard Clarke, and Alexander Prime. I went out to PWA once or twice, and that was always fun. But I was never booked to wrestle or anything. I just got to be in the back.
Well, fair enough. Keep working for RCW and getting dates with Danny Duggan and stuff. Danny does tours all over the place, like he does even Ontario and stuff. So, yeah, you just keep working at it.
Oh
and,
yeah, I'm planning on wrestling a bit more just to make up for the time that I was gone.
Yeah, I completely I hear you, and I'm kind of in the same boat. I'm making up time for the time I'm going to be gone.
Luckily, like ring shape is really hard to get into if you're not wrestling constantly, and since there is no like real opportunity for training facilities out here, I'm friends with Cash, who was the old HIW owner, and I believe he's gonna let me take that stiff ass Regina ring and put it in my garage so that I can get in better shape. So appreciate that one as well.
Get some guys out there that know what they're doing and do some tackles and drop downs and
all the fun stuff.
Chaining around and yeah. I think that'd be good.
Oh yeah,
I'm surprised that there isn't a training center in Saskatchewan.
There is. I just can't go there.
Fair enough. Well, we don't need to get into that. But with that, I don't want to end on a sour note here. But thank you very much for coming on Monday Night Shaw.
I'm very happy to be a guest on this.
Why don't you give the folks your social media stuff so that if people want to stay abreast of your situation, they can do that?
Yeah. So the only social media I have is Facebook. Every other social media is I don't like it. So Facebook, Chris Summers is the name. You can send me a friend request there, and that's probably where I'll start updating more. There's not a lot of updates, but there'll be more recent stuff coming.
Is that the account people should get a hold of you if they'd like to book you as well?
No, my personal Facebook is where they can contact me.
Okay, and is there a link for that on your Chris Summers there? Just because I'd like people to be able to book you.
Yeah, for sure.
Coming out of this interview.
There's not right now, but there will be.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, this has been Monday Night Shaw with me, Wild Kyle, the Canadian Goose, and Chris Summers. Chris, thank you for coming on the show
Thank you for
once
having
more.
me.
No problem, buddy. Anytime. And I look forward to seeing you down the road.